Hello and welcome. I am Nancy and you are watching News Today. It's time for headlines. Hurricane Ian has killed at least 76 people in Florida since it made landfall last week as a Category 4 storm, decimating coastal towns and flooding homes. 4 others died in storm-related incidents as Ian churned into North Carolina and 2 died earlier in the week in Cuba. More than 1,600 people have been rescued from the storm's path in parts of southwest and central Florida since last week, Gov. Ron DeSantis' office said Sunday. Now, as blue skies return, people in Florida are facing the daunting task of rebuilding as they begin to return to unrecognizable communities, many of them still without power or clean drinking water. President Joe Biden is set to travel to Florida this week where he will survey the damage. The Supreme Court's new term begins today with a slate of historic cases to be decided over the next several months. On Tuesday, the court will hear a challenge to the Historic Voting Rights Act that bars voting rules that discriminate on the basis of race. Race will also be a central theme when the court considers affirmative action in college admissions or whether institutions of higher education can take race into consideration as a factor when admitting applicants. Also notable is the court's newest member, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who will take her seat on the bench for oral arguments today. Although Jackson was administered her official oath last spring, her investiture ceremony sealed her position as the first Black woman on the bench last week. Brazil's heated presidential election will go to a second round after no candidate got more than 50% of the vote, with more than 99% of the vote counted late Sunday. Results released by Brazil's Electoral Superior Court showed left-wing candidate and former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva held a slight lead over right-wing incumbent President Jair Bolsonaro, but not enough to cross the threshold to victory. The latest official count put Lula ahead with 48.4% of the vote versus 43.2% for Bolsonaro, a divisive figure often referred to as the Trump of the tropics. This comes after more than 123 million Brazilians waited in long lines to vote in the world's fourth-largest democracy, while another 32 million abstained. United Airlines is suspending service at New York's JFK Airport, saying its schedule there is too small to remain competitive. In a note shared with CNN Business, the airline said the start of the winter season, when more airlines resume flying to and from JFK, contributed to its difficult decision. United has been negotiating with the FAA to acquire additional slots or takeoff and landing authorizations at JFK and has been advocating for the agency to update its assessment of the airport's capacity. But United said these improvements will take time. As for the airline's employees, United says that the 100 employees who work at JFK won't lose their jobs and instead be transferred to nearby locations. Old Europe Cheese is issuing a voluntary recall of its Brie and Camembert cheeses because of a possible outbreak of Listeria, according to FDA. Affected cheeses were sold at about a dozen major retailers in the U.S. and Mexico between August 1st and September 28, 2022. Retailers who likely sold the recalled cheeses include Albertsons, Safeway, Major, Harding's, Shaw's, Price Chopper, Market Basket, Raley's, Save Mart, Giant Foods, Stop and Shop, Fresh Time, Lidl, Sprouts, Athenian Foods, and Whole Foods, the company said. The FDA is advising consumers who may have purchased any of the products to discard them, as well as use extra vigilance in sanitizing any surfaces that may have come into contact with the products.